Welcome, everybody. You're watching the Acquisition Council, the monthly show that takes a deep dive into the private vehicle acquisition strategies, best practices, and technology that can help your dealership evolve its in-market efforts. So, today we are discussing bidding strategies for private sellers. I'm here with Tom and Mark with Vehicle Acquisition Network, and I'm telling you, these guys are the most versed and knowledgeable subject matter experts on private vehicle acquisition and auto remarketing. Today's topic will most definitely be useful for our used car managers out there. So, gentlemen, let's jump right into it, shall we? Okay, great to see you.
Good to see you.
How was your last month?
Very good.
Good. We had Easter last month. How was that?
Excellent.
Very good. Anybody take any trips lately? You've been on a lot of trips lately.
I have been traveling quite a bit.
That's great.
Yeah.
A lot of outdoor stuff. And I saw you in the elevator, and I said, what are you doing? You look fantastic. What are you doing?
I've been training. Last year I did an Ironman in September, and this one I did another half Ironman this time. So it's not as much of a training regimen as the previous one, but it's certainly good to stay fit.
Wow. That's crazy. I couldn't do that. How about you?
No, I'm not going to join any Ironman
Yeah.
races in the near future.
I'll come watch
And
on
just
Facebook.
watch.
I like to
Absolutely.
watch on Facebook all
Yeah.
those really great accomplishments.
It's an interesting community, so
I bet
I was
it is.
surprised with the first one.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Well, okay, so today we're talking about bidding strategies for private sellers. Is there a difference between bidding on private sale vehicles versus the auction? Or are they about the same?
Well, there's no question that dealers have a different strategy among each channel that they purchase. So trade-ins would be a different strategy than auction vehicles, and both of those would be different than vehicles that come in off the street, so street purchases. So oftentimes in order for a dealer to win an auction, a bid, the cost to market is often very, typically the cost to market is higher on vehicles purchased at the auction than they would be from trade-ins or cars purchased off the street. So when you think of the logic, though, the logic would be quite the opposite. The vehicles within their community, whether it be a trade-in or a vehicle purchased off the street, you're buying a vehicle from somebody in your neighborhood, somebody in your community, somebody you can likely sell a vehicle to in the future. Service. So the logic would argue then that you should pay more for vehicles in your community than what you may pay for vehicles at the auction. But the reality is you're not going to buy cars at the auction for the same price.
That's right. I think the two most important distinctions are, in fact, the customer, right, that you're buying from at an auction is another dealer oftentimes, or maybe the manufacturer. As Tom said, each market, each channel for acquiring inventory has a slightly different approach. And auctions, of course, are dealers selling vehicles to dealers or OEMs selling vehicles to dealers. Whereas with a private party seller, you're dealing with more than likely a consumer that exists in your market, and you have an opportunity to earn a lifetime customer. So big change right off the bat. And then second, of course, is the cost structure. With a private seller, you're not necessarily going to have to worry about auction fees, transport, additional fees to get the vehicle to the dealership. I often joke about the value of no holding cost. Holding cost is a calculation that's used by dealerships to calculate how much each day of holding the vehicle will cost the dealer eventually. So with a private party seller, the vehicle's already arrived at your dealership and you're able to inspect that vehicle and get it turned to the front line very quickly. Whereas with an auction, there's often a 3 to 5 day delay between transport. So time to market is a little bit more quick. I would also say pricing strategies are much different. We try to encourage our dealer partners to devise their best possible offer right off the bat to present that to the consumer so that the consumer knows that they're advocating for the seller. Oftentimes, we find that a private seller is somewhat hesitant to sell to a dealership initially, and it takes multiple follow-up calls or follow-up contacts to put that seller at ease before they decide to sell to the dealership.
Seller has apprehension selling directly to a dealership?
That's right. So they might think that that there's some type of an obligation to purchase a new vehicle, and in a case in point, or that they're going to be offered something much less. So again, we try to encourage our dealer partners to get to the best possible offer initially, because we know from research that we've done that it can take up to 30 days of continuous follow-up and relationship building with that private seller before they're actually ready to sell the vehicle to the dealership.
Pros and cons to both.
That's right.
Where have you seen technology have the most impact? At the auction or in the private seller sector?
Well, with respect to the bidding and technology that helps dealers to track both, vAuto is something that most of our dealers use. And they just launched a new product called Global Acquisition, which I'm pretty optimistic about with respect to helping dealers to track the different strategies. So a dealer, senior level management, an owner or general manager, can be very intentional about what cost to market they want to add or to strategize with a strategy to buy cars at the auction, as may contrast to buying cars from the street, from street purchases from consumers.
Yeah.
So with the ability of having a strategy in mind and then being able to manage and monitor that strategy, it helps to have consistency within the company, as opposed to independent or individual managers maybe having a different strategy than what the dealership might. So we all have often encouraged dealers to track their metrics of cars that they're buying from the street and cars that they're buying from trade-in and cars that they're buying from the auction. And now with this technology rollout, it allows the dealers to do it more efficiently.
I would agree with Tom. The vAuto data that can be had from whether it's Profit Time or Global Acquisition Tool is tremendously helpful for a dealership to make the correct decision at the correct time. As we know that this is a volatile market, oftentimes values are inflated or may be bottoming out. So vAuto is probably the single best technology tool outside of van, of course, for acquiring vehicles from private sellers.
What's better? Buying a lot of cars or buying just a few cars?
It comes down to the strategy that the dealer wants. So we have some dealers that will go with a very high cost to market offer, like Mark was saying earlier about offering as much as you can initially, and then buying a lot of cars. Now, if you have a higher cost to market offer, typically your profit margin may be less. So the dealers that would like to buy a lot of cars, and our recommendation is certainly buy more, as that may contrast the dealers that may want to offer a lower cost to market. You're going to be making more offers, buying fewer cars, but the profit margins may be far greater on an average than the alternative agenda.
Depends on the dealership.
Depends on the dealership.
Really does follow the dealership's vehicle acquisition strategy. Some dealerships may have a lower need for total inventory. Some may have a greater need, and some are more apprehensive about being competitive in their first offer than others. We know that the more offers that you make to private sellers, the more vehicles that you will eventually buy.
Tell me about some of the factors that would affect the bidding strategies of a dealer.
Certainly some factors would be location. I know Mark may argue a different position that every market is not necessarily unique, as you've traveled the world and dealt in many different markets. However, in some respect, the markets are going to differ. So a rural market may have more of a need for trucks. An urban or city market may do more hybrids.
You've been around the world. They're all the same. It's all the same.
I've had the good fortune of working with dealerships in a number of countries and all across the country, hundreds of dealers over the years. And as much as we would like to think that our own market nuances are largely the determining factors for success, I've often joked with Tom that we all get up in the morning and put the key in the door and we sell cars, we sell parts, and we sell service. And that is something, common ground that we all share in terms of operating. So the nuances may be there in terms of geography or pricing. Even the actual manufacturer of the dealership might have certain conditions or programs that assist certain brands more than others. So that would be something else that would factor into my acquisition strategy.
So what about the amount of cars? What would affect a dealer buying little or many?
My background is Midwest. Midwestern dealers don't sell nearly as many cars per store as stores on the West Coast. So I think there is some relevance to the number of cars that are needed to supply the volume of cars being sold.
Anything else you want to talk about with this subject matter?
Yeah, with some of the technology enhancements or things that we do on our end to help dealers with their bidding strategy or their offers that are made, is we help dealers to track offers. So by tracking the offer in our platform, and we track the date that that offer is inserted. So within our dashboard and our views, an inventory view, a dealer can look at the offer and the date of offer. So within the reporting, you can actually build a report that would show you how many offers were made in a respective period of time. So by tracking the number of offers weekly, you can then correlate that to the number of cars acquired. So the question is, am I buying more cars or am I making more offers?
Yeah.
So we can help the dealer to connect the dots.
Yeah.
100 offers made, how many cars purchased?
Great seeing you today.
Good seeing you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you so much. Always great talking to you. I honestly learn a lot when I talk to you two about this industry, and I always feel much smarter, believe me, when I'm walking out of the room. So thanks for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, so listen, if you have any questions for these fellas, they will be glad to take your call and help you out and really improve and grow your vehicle acquisition. Thanks again, guys.
Thanks, Dave.
Great to see you.